You call it a pressure group, call it a party. You're a candidate to be an MP on a ballot paper in an election.
Mate. How many times have you stood?
How many times have you stood?
What do you know about it? How many times have you stood?
I'm asking you the questions, Mr. Farage. I mean, the challenge here is people will say, look, you've tried it before,
well, I tell you
what, didn't manage to do it. What makes this time any different?
Ask something intelligent and we'll carry on with the conversation, shall we?
I'm interested in why people should trust you that 7 times...
I'd just like to say Ben is not very, very boring. So
what it's worth, I don't think this is very, very boring either. So.
Hello everybody. So you have I'm hoping that you have seen the viral video of Reform Party leader Nigel Farage being roasted on BBC News by its presenter Ben Thompson. So what is the story? The story is that Reform Party announced that Nigel Farage would be its new leader, and he is also going to contest elections, because in the past he said he had no desire to contest election and he will be campaigning for other candidates, and he will also travel to America to campaign for Donald Trump. But now we have seen that he has changed his mind and he has decided to contest election. That was the context, that was the background. Now, clearly, as soon as we came to know that he is now the new leader and he is also going to contest election for the 8th time, we know that on 7 previous occasions, he has had to face defeat. He has never won any British parliamentary elections. This is the 8th time he's trying his luck. So there was an interest in the media, and BBC invited him on its program. He appeared on BBC rolling news program, which is a 24/7 rolling news program, and he was being interviewed and he was being asked a question by Ben Thompson about his confidence to finally win a parliamentary election after having failed on 7 different occasions in the past. Now that really riles him up. He loses his temper, and knowing Nigel Farage, that he has a man with fairly low IQ. His policy is based on racism. He believes in dividing the society and polarizing views and polarizing opinion, and therefore seeking the electoral advantage.
You call it a pressure group, call it a party. You're a candidate to be an MP on a ballot paper in an election.
Mate. How many times have you stood? How many times have you stood? What do you know about it? How many times have you stood?
I'm asking you the questions, Mr. Farage. I mean, the challenge here is people will say, look, you've tried it before,
well, I tell you what,
didn't manage to do it. What makes this time any different?
Ask something intelligent and we'll carry on with the conversation, shall we?
I'm interested in why people should trust you that 7 times previously you didn't manage to do that.
No.
You also...
I think you're very, very boring, and I think your viewers will find you very boring, and you ought to do rather better as the state broadcaster, in my view.
When you meet these kind of people, they are often low on IQ and they cannot have a meaningful discussion. And that shows here that as soon as he's being asked a decent question, he loses his cool. I don't really understand the context of branding a news presenter boring. I mean, is the news presenter supposed to be very entertaining? Is he an entertainer? What is he? A news presenter's job is to just present news. So where is the question of boring? That just shows the IQ level of this individual who thrives in Islamophobia, who thrives in racism, as we have seen more recently from his interview on Sky News. Now you would say, first of all, I have a problem with BBC platforming these kind of divisive figure. Now there are 2 opinions. One opinion says that it's good that BBC invites him on its platform so that he gets exposed and people are able to make quite an informed decision about him when it comes to voting. Now the other opinion says that by platforming him and ridiculing him, we are preparing a group of people who read the Sun newspaper, who are low on education, and they feel sympathized to this character. They think that, he's being unfairly treated by the news platform, and therefore it generates interest in their minds about his policies and about the ideas that he stands for. So that will help him extract the much needed electoral mileage on the 4th of July. I have my issue that, the broadcaster should just stick to, the broadcasting code meant for the elections. We have seen the Ofcom has already released its broadcasting code by reinforcing the fact that you have to be equal, equitable in terms of giving platforms or the space to different candidates or the leaders of different political parties. That's exactly the point that I was trying to make the other day when I said that George Galloway of the Workers' Party should be raising his voice against these injustices than taking on ITV. That really didn't go down well with lots of George Galloway supporters. But the point I was trying to make is that BBC is a much bigger platform, has far too many outlets, and that's where the smaller parties like Workers' Party or George Galloway should fight hard to have to occupy their spaces on, because that's really important. If you see, that interview with Ben Thompson was played on Newsnight because Victoria Derbyshire said that she had invited Nigel Farage to appear on her show, which he refused. And then she plays this interview, and as soon as the interview is over, she burst into laughter along with her guest, one from the Conservative and other from the SNP.
As you would expect as Newsnight viewers, we did ask Nigel Farage for an interview tonight here on Newsnight. He declined. Here he was this afternoon talking to BBC News about why he'd changed his mind and was going to stand, after all, his 8th attempt at becoming an MP.
You were a candidate. You call it a pressure group, call it a party. You were a candidate to be an MP on a ballot paper in an election.
Mate. How many times have you stood?
I haven't.
How many times
I'm
have you
just
stood?
asking.
What do you know about it? How many times have you stood?
I'm asking you the questions, Mr. Farage. I mean, the challenge here is people will say, look, you've tried it before,
well, I tell you
didn't manage to do it.
Intelligent.
What makes this time any
Ask something
different?
intelligent and we'll carry on with the conversation, shall we?
I'm interested in why people should trust you that 7 times previously you didn't manage to do that.
No.
You also...
I think you're very, very boring, and I think your viewers will find you very boring, and you ought to do rather better as the state broadcaster, in my view.
I'd just like to say Ben is not very, very boring.
So, what it's worth, I don't think this is very, very boring either. So.
Now, my feeling is that when you try to publicly ridicule a divisive figure like him, there are many in this country who share his ideas, his divisive ideas, his sectarian ideas, his racist ideas. There are many. The people usually, we know the kind of people that I'm talking about, who are low on education and who hate migrants and who hate people of color. So by doing this, we are polarizing those people in support of Nigel Farage and his ideas. There's another development that took place today when somebody threw a drink on him as Nigel Farage was coming out of a pub in London. Now, again, it could be staged. It could be a natural reaction from somebody who doesn't agree with his divisive ideas. But nonetheless, I mean, he stands to gain from these antics. And that's my real worry. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do so, because that's one of the many ways you can support independent journalism. God bless you all.